Hello there and welcome to my YouTube channel Gut Feel. Today, all over the world, huge sums of money are spent in electing representatives to parliaments. India is no exception. The amount spent by the government and political parties on elections over the last 2 decades has shot up exponentially. Take a look at these numbers. This is the poll expenditure in India from 2004 to 2019. In 2004, we spent about 14,000 crores. In 2009, there was an increase of 43% to 20,000 crores. Then in 2014, there was an increase of 50%. But in 2019, it jumped by 83%. That is to a whopping amount of 55,000 to 60,000 crores. And you can see the percentage spent by government is between 10 and 15% in all this. It's not only that the total expenditure has increased. If the government spends only 10 to 15% of this money, you can guess who is spending the rest. Yes, the political parties themselves and some of their friends and well-wishers. In the 2016 presidential elections in the US, a total of $6.5 billion was spent on the elections. India topped that easily by spending $8 billion in the 2019 elections. That's the 55,000 crores that we were talking about. Then the 2020 elections rolled around in the US and they spent about $14 billion. At this rate, don't be shocked if the 2024 elections in India cost $1 trillion rupees. Not only do politicians garner unimaginable amounts of money from businesses, but also it is now no longer considered abnormal to spend vulgar amounts like, say, 40 crores on your own individual election. As per the Election Commission of India, 75 to 80 candidates did just that in 2019. They spent 40 crores plus on their own elections. As per SBI figures, electoral bonds worth 6,500 crores have already been sold in the last 3 years since they were notified in 2018. And this is only till October 2020. The highest selling electoral bond, that is the most favored denomination, is rupees 1 crore. The lowest selling were the denominations of 1,000 and 10,000 rupees. So apparently people like you and me don't buy these bonds. Draw your own conclusions about who can afford to buy these bonds of 1 crore. Election campaigns are expensive. So much so that election candidates are chosen on their fund gathering ability. A political party will nominate anyone who has the funds to run his own campaign. They will nominate criminals, even rapists and murderers, if they can fund their own campaigns. God knows India's Lok Sabha has always had its share of criminals, some of them accused of very serious crimes, but their presence in the Lok Sabha is now assuming alarming proportions. Well, this is not a secret that I'm sharing with you. It's all out there in the public domain with name and crime details. You can look it up using the links that I have provided or the sources that I have referred. Nobody feels ashamed talking about such things anymore. As per our law, criminals can fight elections and win from their prison cell. But criminals in prison cannot vote. If you have enough money to pay your bail, then you can vote. But if you can't make the bail payment, then you can't vote either. Speaking of the criminalization of politics, let's take a look at some figures. First, the winners of the polls from 2004 to 2019. Out of the 540-odd candidates who win the Lok Sabha elections every year, in 2004, 125 of them had criminal cases against them. 60 of them were very serious. In 2019, that number has shot up to 236, out of which 161 have serious cases against them. As you can see, the number of criminals has been going up consistently in the last 20 years. Today, take a look at the percentages. Today, almost 44% of the Lok Sabha is occupied by criminals, and 30% of them have serious cases registered against them. Look, it's not a question of which political party has more or less of them positioned in the Lok Sabha seats. That is not the point. The point is that this is now the political culture of this country. Not for just the politicians, but also for the citizens. We have accepted it, maybe with cynical and helpless resignation, but this does not bode well for the future. Have we ever thought of why we vote for such candidates? Is the establishment of our party, our ideology more important, more paramount than everything else, even more than the fate of the country itself? Apparently, it is. And if you think that this is just the case with the winning candidates, you would be wrong. Let's take a look at the pan-India figures. In every election, about 7,000 to 8,000 candidates stand for election across India's 540-odd constituencies. Here are their numbers for criminality. In 2019, 1,510 of them had criminal cases against them, and 1,077 of them were serious. Let's see the growth in percentages. In 2019, 18.4% had criminal cases against them, and 13% of them had serious cases against them. That means almost 1/5 of our candidates who run for elected office already have criminal cases against them. Speaking of crime, the authorities seized almost 3,500 crores, let me repeat that, 3,500 crores worth of narcotics, drugs, liquor, cash, gold and silver in raids during the 2019 election. Which begs the question, are we conducting elections here, or is this a crime mela? Where are the days when politicians led because of their sense of civic duty and service to the nation? Where are those politicians? Most of those leaders came from humble backgrounds. Today's politicians are rich. Our Lok Sabha has its share of rich leaders. Their tribe has been growing steadily over the last 2 decades. Look at the numbers. In the Lok Sabha, out of the 540 winners, 479 are already crorpatis. Whereas in 2004, only 153 of them were crorpatis. In terms of percentages, ladies and gentlemen, 88% of your Lok Sabha MPs are already rolling in the moolah. So do you think they are going to be able to relate to your problems? Will they even be able to feel your pain? You know, money has a way of desensitizing your soul. And as for our other non-winner candidates across India, they are doing just as well. Thank you. Look at the numbers. Out of the 7,000 or 8,000 who stand for elections, 2,312 were already crorpatis in 2019. In terms of percentages, almost 29 of our running candidates are already crorpatis. How do you expect them to feel the pain of the man on the street? The ideal government was not supposed to interfere in business. Today, it is the other way around. Businesses invest so much in these so-called people's representatives that governments function like their subsidiaries. Who do you think are buying the electoral bonds of rupees 1 crore? Governments are supposed to evaluate options and select the most beneficial. Instead, there are lobbyists and pressure groups and caucuses whose effectiveness more often than not depends not on the strength and morality of their arguments, but on their proximity to those in power. We accept such professions and such terminologies without a thought. India has more than 50% of its population below the age of 25 and more than 65% below the age of 35. Yet in the Indian Parliament, the average age is 55. In the US, the average age in the House is over 57 and almost 63 in the Senate. Most ordinary people like you and me are ready to pack it all in and retire by the time we are 60. And we are just doing a small-time job which takes care of the welfare of ourselves and our family. And yet we become so weary, so burnt out, so sick of it all by the time our 60s come around. These politicians have to take care of the entire nation. In India, they have to take care of almost 1.4 billion people. That is 14 followed by 8 zeros. That should be one hell of a stressful job. I can guarantee I wouldn't last in that job for a week. And yet it seems our politicians never grow weary of the rat race. They may grow old, they may fall sick, they may become weak and feeble, but they never want to give up their jobs. They never want to retire. Why do you think this is so? There must be something in their jobs, some immense power and influence that renders them unable to leave it. It is not only the money, it is the temptation of almost unlimited power that holds them to their seats. Peter's principle famously states that in the corporate world, everybody rises to his own level of incompetence. In politics, it seems, everybody rises to his own level of immorality. Well, thank you and see you soon.